Hi everyone, my name is Akshaya Kavre. I'm a nature and animal communicator, which means I can speak to plants, animals, and other species and have two-way conversations with them. One of the biggest points of discussions in most of our classes is how to really differentiate between our interpretation, our projections, our emotions, our experiences versus what the animal really wishes to tell us. Now, this is a challenge that most of us communicators would face because there's a very fine line of difference between how we perceive information internally versus how we receive information from animals, plants, or nature. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to break it down for you in the hopes that it helps you with your own practice in also being able to differentiate or at least understand how you are processing information that you receive through your intuitive communication. So let's get started. When we start communicating with animals, usually we find it very simple to communicate. So the messages that we receive may be incomplete, they are generally very neutral, it's very simple, and we'll often notice that the confusion that happens, it happens after we receive information. So when we start, we'll generally start receiving messages very intuitively. It's free flow of energy and it's rather simple, it's not complicated at all. So that is something that we need to remember, especially when we are starting out. At the start of every conversation also, we would find that the messages that will come very easily. So once we are aware of this, we realize that the reception of the messages is usually passive. A lot of people think that they're going to have these huge eureka moments, or you're going to receive a lot of big messages, clear messages, and they set themselves up for disappointment because that is not how communication happens. Communication is fairly simple. These are sensations, there could be thoughts, there could be certain feelings or certain words that just come up on their own. We don't have to put in a lot of effort. It's not like an active action that we put into. It's more like a no effort thing, and the story just keeps forming itself depending on where the animal wishes to lead the conversation. It often feels a little disappointing also because of the way it comes. There are no big messages, it's extremely subtle. So that is something that we need to remember. Interpretation, on the other hand, is very active. It's not passive like the way we receive information. It is an active thing that we put in an effort into. So when we are speaking of interpretation, it is mainly our own mind trying to put meaning to whatever we are receiving. So if we simply receive, for example, a ball from an animal or a bowl of food from an animal, like bowl of chicken, that is the simple reception of that message. But then our mind actively tries to put meaning into what the ball may mean or what the bowl of food may mean, and that is when we start filtering the information through our own eyes, through our own understanding, through our own assumptions, through our own labels. So it's actively we putting in an effort into it. So here our personal experiences, our hopes, our fears, our attachment to the outcome of the communication starts really acting up in the form of us putting in that effort, and here we'll see the distortion happening as well. This is also how our projection enters. So our mind starts filling in gaps. So where we can't make any sense of the message, we immediately start putting meaning to it. So this is where we need to pause and we need to understand that it's not our job to put in messages, to put in meaning into the messages. Our job is to convey the message as is to the human. Let the human make meaning of it, or we can always go back to the animal and seek for clarification. So let's not put messages, let's not put meaning into the messages. Let's just convey the messages as is, so that the human is able to understand what the animal really wishes to share. When we start projecting, when we start putting in the meaning, that's when it becomes more about us, more about the humans, rather than what the animal genuinely wishes to share. This is also the reason why doubts will show up in communication. This will happen after the communication is done. So usually you'll notice that when we are communicating, we are very neutral, and then after we try to put meaning into the messages, that's when the doubt creeps up, because we will notice that the outcome of the communication doesn't align with how we have interpreted it, what meaning we have put into it, because we were not supposed to put the meaning. We did it out of our free will. We did not stick to the raw messages that came from the animals, and that is why we will start doubting ourselves, because of the lack of the alignment between how the animal is behaving and how the animal has actually shared their messages. So reception is very clear, very simple, but the interpretation is very objective driven, and hence it may feel very heavy. And this is where practice of ensuring that we separate the two is very important. So we need to stay with the raw data that comes to us, and we have to resist immediately trying to put meaning into it. Sometimes just conveying without meaning can be really helpful to the animal as well as to the human. The focus should be on what we actually receive rather than explanation of it. Let the explanation part be up to the animal. We can go to the animal, ask what they mean, or we can ask the human what they would interpret of the message, but it's not our job as a communicator. So when we are communicating, it is extremely important that we have restraint over our own mind rather than putting in an effort. So restraint, not effort, when it comes to communication. That's how we are able to communicate clearly, effectively, stay neutral, and avoid interpretations and projections of our own feelings or of our own emotional entanglement with the animal or with the topic of the communication. This is how we also build trust with the animal, as we become a true voice for them rather than only getting information that we would want to receive from them. It is very important for us to remember that we don't need to understand everything immediately. Sometimes just leaving things be can do wonders for our communication skills, especially intuitive communication skills. I hope you loved watching this video and found it helpful. If there are certain pointers that you have experienced, or if you would like to elaborate on in your experience, please do mention them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you and learn from you. And until the next video, bye bye.